One question you're likely to have if you have an idea for a technology business is, what do I need to budget for when I do my initial build out? Now, one temptation you might have is to get really eager, excited, and really enthusiastic about your idea so that you just want to dive in and build your application as soon as possible. And if you do this, one risk that you're taking on is not properly planning out each element of your budget. So you are setting yourself up to be really surprised by, oh, I did not expect that cost at all. So this video is going to show you each of the elements that you should consider and budget for before you go in and create the first version of your product. I'm Arya Chittisy from Engenesis, and day in and day out, we work with founders, innovators, and entrepreneurs building out and growing their technology businesses. Here are those most important things that you need to consider if you're at that stage before you go through the building process. The first is you need to have some type of business plan or information memorandum, something where you have gone in and researched the market you are about to enter. Right now, this isn't something to just spend time to create a whole document for the sake of the document. This is for you really looking at, does this business have what it takes to be self-sustaining, to be profitable? Are there enough customers in the geographies that I'm looking at to actually sustain my business as a whole? Now, why is this important? Because if you don't do the research about your market, you may be going in, investing all of this money only to find out that you have a limited ceiling of what you can achieve in that business or that market, such that all the investment, time, and energy was not worth it in the first place. The next thing to look at is the design and then the development of your software product. Let's first look at design. You might have the temptation to go in, find a software developer and tell them what you want and hope that they would build everything. But that's the same as going in, talking to a bricklayer and saying, hey, build me a house and start laying the bricks. It's a very unlikely chance that you're going to come out with the product that you want. So what's the alternative? Well, you need to talk to an architect. You need to create your blueprints. And this is what a product designer does. This is what a UI, UX designer does. You start working with UI, the user interfaces, all of the screens, the buttons, and the clicks that would guide people through your product, and the user experience or UX. This is every single flow and how people move through your software so they end up experiencing the value of your product. In the end of the day, the UI UX designer puts the customer first, and they obsessively think about what is going to make sense to them so that it's usable, it's user-friendly, and the value comes across loud and clear. Now, because in every single international market, the rates of labor are completely different, I would invite you to look up the local day rates and contractor rates for a UI UX designer in your country. This is going to give you the best benchmark for what you should expect for paying 10 to 20 days of design work to build out your application, your website, or your platform in terms of the design aspect. Now, once you've completed this, you should have the design in front of you. You should know how many screens. Is it 150 screens? Is it 300 screens? Unless you know what you actually want to build, you can't expect your developers and your builders to know what it's going to take. But let's assume that you've reached that point and you're so comfortable with every single screen being designed. This is where you can move into the development process. Now, one rule that we have come to observe after working with over 500 companies going through this process is that there's a 60, 90, and 120 day development day mark that gives you a decent idea of what it takes to build the first version of your product. So if you are working with a far more simple product, something that's consumer facing, it doesn't have things maybe like AI or blockchain involved, then you want to aim for 60 development days to 90 development days. The 60 to 90 day mark gives you a really good benchmark to see something that's not too basic, that it doesn't have the features it needs to attract the customers you want. On the other hand of the spectrum, if you have above 90 days of development work, it's likely that you are being overly ambitious. You're coming up with all of these bells and whistles that you think are going to work, but you don't have the data to know that people will really want and need that. So 60 to 90 days, build your first product, take it out into the market, get your customer feedback, and then you can start releasing the next feature, and so on. We like to put up a barrier at about 120 days if you're building something slightly more sophisticated. This might be a multi-sided marketplace. This means there's not only one customer, there are buyers, sellers, administrators, there are multiple people involved. Or if you're building something a bit more challenging in terms of advanced technology, whether that be blockchain, AI, and similar things like that, that might need a bit more R&D. So this gives you a bit of a benchmark. It allows you to go in, make sure that you're building enough, but not too much. And again, I would invite you to go and look at the software development rates in your country or where you wish to build it, and simply times it by 60 days, 90 days, or 120 days. That's going to give you a bit of a budget. So for the majority of you, 95% are either going to raise funds through your personal bank account and savings, through friends, or through family, right? And statistically, about $75,000 USD is what any startup technology company is going to raise to build out the first version of their product, but also establish their business and so on. And in our experience, this is a really good benchmark. We say it's about the same amount you would put into a family restaurant to get it off the ground. But instead of being able to serve a few hundred customers, you're building a product that could serve millions of customers with the same input at the beginning. So we hope this gives you a really good guide before you get started. The last thing you want is to dive in and be hit with hidden or unexpected costs. You need to set yourself up to win from day one. And we hope you can take this information, turn off this video and get out there and start building your business. If you want to learn more about startups and tech business investments, if you want to learn more about what do you need in your tech team, we have more valuable information at engenesis.io. I'll see you next time.